Red Shellman.
I pinch.
That warning wasn't enough. You're not ready for this. And I just want to let you guys know that an actual with an axe is probably the least disturbing thing on this entire iceberg, okay? Welcome to the School Days Iceberg. Yeah, the School Days Iceberg. So in case you don't know, School Days is anime community's biggest punching bag. You're gonna see everybody online making fun of this series, but they're just talking about the 12 episode anime series. There's a lot more to it than that. It actually comes from an erotic visual novel of the same title, School Days, and even that comes from an even bigger expanded universe from the company Overflow. There's also sequel games, a manga, and many people like myself do still defend it, and there is a fandom cult following that still exists online to this day. When I first decided to do this iceberg, I figured there might be some memes, nice boat, or some trivia like the pen name of the creator. Now there's Numakichi. But what I uncovered, guys, oh my god. Like, I'm talking about a family tree that's so screwed up. It there's probably less incest in actual Alabama, okay? How about a rock, paper, scissors mini game that the outcome is you impregnate your mother? If you win, okay? God almighty. How about a character that has a three-way with this half sister and half niece at the same time, unknowingly? Okay, that's not bad enough for you? How about a character who knowingly receives pleasure from his teenage daughter, one of his teenage daughters? Or how about a nice, relaxing Christmas vacation with your now pregnant lover and her teenage daughter and her elementary school age daughter, and of course being in a romantic entanglement with all three of them, and they all know it. I can't, oh my god, it is so bad, you guys. I can't even imagine. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. Now, I know many of y'all might say, right, okay, what about Maggot's Bait, or what about Euphoria? Those are degenerate. This isn't nearly that bad, right? And you're right, it's not nearly that bad. But there's something to be said about games that look like that and kind of have a horror aesthetic, and games with characters that look like this! This is a nightmare, you guys. I'm a gooner. I'm a degenerate. I goon 2 times before breakfast every single day. But guys, I'm telling you, this broke me. Oh my god. Oh god. Why are we still here? Anyway, if you're still here, I just want you to... There can be no mistake. If you watch this, there can be no mistake, guys. Just stick with it. I know I'm being a bit jovial, but I felt like I was going to have a stroke earlier. I was having a panic attack. It's bad. So anyway, this chart was created by me. I don't want to say I hope you enjoy. I hope you don't enjoy it, but I hope you get some entertainment out of it. Alright, so in layer 1, I'm just going to be talking about stuff that you probably know already if you've seen the anime, so feel free to skip ahead if you feel like this information's boring you. I'm going to give you a basic review of the main characters and the main plot points, and basically about the anime itself and its infamy, starting with Makoto Ito. Makoto Ito is our main protagonist, although I would never call him a hero in any respect, but he is the main character of the School Days series, as well as obviously the sequel game and anything with School Days on it. Makoto's probably the main character. He is our protagonist, right? Makoto is a liar, a womanizer, and genuinely just a bad person. He is a young guy though, and as I was attempting to explain in my School Days video, which I now don't think I'll ever finish after reading about all this, but Makoto's name in Japanese can be read as sincerity or honesty. This can be seen as being ironic, as in, he's a womanizer and a liar, but he's named after truthfulness. So, I don't know. You tell me. There's not really any explanation here. Next up, we have Saionji Sekai. Now, Saionji Sekai makes up 2/3 of this love triangle. Yeah, the whole story is a love triangle, by the way. Sorry if I haven't mentioned that yet. Saionji Sekai is our main female character along with another female character we'll talk about in a minute. In Japanese, sekai means world, right? Like get it, isekai, right? I don't think this was intentional, but in the anime, it said that Sekai is the president of the astronomy club and world astronomy. I mean, I just thought it was interesting. I don't think it's related at all. But our next up, we have Kotonoha Katsura, who is, fun fact, the fan favorite character, at least in Japan, right? She was absolutely the favorite character. And hey, I gotta say, she's probably my favorite character too. And she's one of the more innocent characters of this entire series. Next up, we have her little sister, Kokoro Katsura, who I'm just not going to say anything else at the moment. Just. Next up, we have Setsuna Kiora, who can be seen as the probably, if we have three main characters, a love triangle, Setsuna would be our number 4 character. Now, Setsuna is also supposedly the creator's favorite character herself, which is pretty interesting. And she can be seen as the main heroine of the follow-up game, Summer Days, aka Shiny Days. We'll go over that a bit later. So just so you understand, the rest of the characters I'll go over briefly when the time comes if we need to, but you really just need to know Makoto, Sekai, Kotonoha, Kokoro, and Setsuna to really get this iceberg. And the rest of the characters I'll explain as we go forward. Moving on. Anime infamy. Alright, so in case you didn't know, the School Days anime is probably one of the most hated anime, at least in the West, that I can think of. It's well known in the anime community, and everybody hates it. I mean, they don't just think it's bad, they absolutely hate it. I have literally watched videos of people raging about how bad they think this anime is. Everybody that complains and rages about how bad they think the anime is, I would just tell them, you don't even know. You just think it's bad. You have no idea. It's one of those situations where it's like I complain about having no shoes and then I met a man with no feet, right? Well, I complained about this anime that I didn't like, and then I met R-Sam, who read all about the games on the lore, and I think I need to go lie down. Moving on. Bad endings and best ending. Alright, I'm going to combine these two entries here because I really wanted to focus on the extremes in this situation. The School Days anime as well as the School Days manga have a pretty dark and tragic ending. In case you don't know, I'm going to spoil it now, but again, you have no idea how bad things are going to get. But essentially, this is a 12-episode anime that's built up as a high school romance, but it also has a lot of drama in it. Right, it's about Makoto Ito and his love triangle with Sekai Saionji and Katsura Kotonoha. Alright, keep up, alright, there's a lot to go over, okay? Throughout these 12 episodes, there's a love triangle, there's cheating going on, and a lot of drama, and Makoto actually ends up banging just almost half the school. I mean, yeah, so why is this? Well, this game is based off an eroge, an erotic visual novel, which we'll get into more a bit later. But yeah, in these games, you usually end up banging multiple girls. But in the anime, it just doesn't work. The rules aren't the same in an anime, right? Makoto, what are you doing, dog? So, yeah, at the end of it, Sekai Saionji snaps after having enough of Makoto's BS, and this is an anime, Makoto can't just load an earlier save. And unfortunately for Makoto, he gets stabbed to death by an angry Sekai who, to be fair to Sekai was just told by Makoto and Kotonoha that she should probably have an abortion, right? And this is because, well, oh, wait, did I really just say, yeah, I did just say that, because apparently Sekai was pregnant, although maybe we'll talk about that later on down the iceberg as well, if you can believe that. So anyway, while she supposedly is pregnant, she gets told to have an abortion by Makoto, and she doesn't like that, so she stabs Makoto, which then Kotonoha walks in and sees a dead Makoto, and rather than calling the police, Kotonoha decides to confront Sekai on the roof of the school, when she says, "Hey, I just cut off Makoto's head." Yeah, that's a whole nother fucking thing. And I'm gonna run away with it on a boat, a nice boat, as a matter of fact. And yeah, I'm gonna kill you now. And so Kotonoha kills Sekai, cuts her head off, and then cuts Sekai open, only to find out that, according to Kotonoha and no one else, that Sekai was never pregnant in the first place. And that's the end of the show. Okay. And yeah, this is all off a 12 episode romance rom-com anime. All right. Yeah. Um, the manga has a pretty terrible ending as well. In the manga, so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kotonoha tries to kill Sekai, but then Makoto steps in the way and he gets injured instead. While Makoto is passed out in the hospital, Sekai kills Kotonoha, and that's the end of that. Why do these properties end so badly? Well, it's because in the erotic visual novel that School Days the anime is based off of, it's actually pretty famous for having really dark and tragic bad endings themselves, okay? So normally you do have these bad endings in these erotic visual novels, but it's like, well, you failed to screw the heroine and try again next time, you know? But no, here you make mistakes, you die. There's at least four that I know of in which one or multiple characters in the visual novel can unfortunately pass away. Either Makoto, Kotonoha, Sekai, or both of the girls. At least four that I know of. And obviously, in further visual novels, there's a lot more terrible bad endings that can happen. But this is one of the first instances that I can think of it happening in an erotic visual novel, okay, where there's a lot of drama in these. So honestly, it's pretty impressive. But that's the reason why you have such an infamous ending. The anime is just picking one possible outcome, right? One possible bad ending that it could be. The best ending, well, in the visual novel, you do get good endings. It could be with one of the main heroines, either Sekai or Kotonoha, or even a third option, maybe Kato Otome, or other characters you can end up with. And in Shiny Days, Summer Days, the sequel follow-up, you can end up with any one of like over a dozen women. And, well, we'll talk about that. We'll get there, okay? We'll get there. Anyway, when I say the best ending, what I refer to is an ending that the fans typically regard as being the best ending, in which Makoto sleeps with both Kotonoha and Sekai at the same time, and they kind of form this love, you know, this harem, right? Makoto gets a harem, and they both get pregnant, and they're both happy with it, and they all three live with their kids, live happily ever after. This is probably seen as the best ending in the game and in the franchise as a whole. Nobody gets stabbed, nobody jumps off a building, and nobody gets raped, which we're gonna get into that later too. Oh my god. And so yeah. Oh, but I will warn you that at this point in the game, if you make a mistake, you will get a bad ending. So yeah, it's either, you know, one is to have two pregnant wives, or the other is to die. So be careful with that. But yeah, the best ending and the bad endings. With that, we'll move on to the next layer. Layer 2, Stack Overflow. All right, so Stack Overflow is the company behind the Days franchise. The company Stack was actually founded and created the Welcome to the Pia Carrot franchise. You may have heard of it before. It's actually a pretty popular and long-running franchise in Japan. It was the only game series Stack specifically worked on, and to manage the overflowing work that they had, they created another company known as Overflow that would work on specifically hentai games, starting with the game known as Pure Male and ending with their last release in 2016, Strip Battle Days, which we're going to talk about later, you believe me. But anyway, it's come to my attention that, or realization rather, I'm going to have to make a separate iceberg specifically for the Stack Overflow franchise. There's so much interesting things that I'm reading about that it's going well outside of the scope of this video. If you don't believe me about the insanity of the Overflow universe, take this character for example. Her name is Kagura Inoue. Now, Kagura here is the protagonist. That's the main character of one of their games known as Snow Radish Vacation. Okay, she's the main character. She's the protagonist. So, after this game, what's her fate? Well, we don't see it again until Shiny Days, whenever Makoto and Setsuna are visiting her grave. Although Makoto doesn't really know why, but anyway, you wonder, okay, how did the main character of this game die in this game? It's tragic, right? Well, when you do some research into Kagura's lore, yeah, it turns out that she was raped, okay, by different men at different times, and we don't exactly know how she died, but she's not around anymore. And then you do some more research, and then you find out that, oh yeah, she's Makoto's aunt. And Makoto is never made aware of this. You see how it's absolutely insane? There's so much going on in Stack Overflow that I'm excited to tell you about it. If you know more about this, company, Stack, Overflow, both of them, neither, any of these games, leave me a comment and let me know. Let's work together on the next iceberg. Just a bit of a spoiler alert for you. I don't know when that'll come out, but that'll come out one day because this is just incredible. And this knowledge has to go somewhere. It may not be anytime soon, but it's happening one day. But yeah, all you need to know for now is Overflow is the company responsible for the School Days franchise, and it was created by Stack. And they're not around anymore. And let's move on. The 2007 Kyoto Axe murder. Alright, so this is a real world event that happened around the time that School Days was airing. I couldn't find much information about this event in particular, not surprising considering it's nearly a 20-year-old murder case in an entirely different country. But anyway, in 2007, a young girl in Kyoto supposedly hacked her father to death with an axe while he was asleep. This is a senseless tragedy. The next day, however, stations were supposed to be airing the final episode of School Days, which, as I've said before, features a murder, a young teenage girl murdering somebody, actually. Because there was too much similarity, the stations decided they wanted to go ahead and pull it down, and they did. As such, they pulled it down. Side note, just a little fun fact, they also pulled down an episode that was airing at the same time of Higurashi no Naku Koro ni. Yeah, so two of my favorite anime series are connected in that way, which is just pretty interesting. Anyway, they pulled it down, and that School Days episode would be aired one time on one network, but it would be heavily censored, and then it would never be aired again. Well, I mean, you can watch it, you just have to watch it on DVD, but it would never see television appearance ever again, right? That's the end of the series. Now, of course, the murder is a tragedy, and it was senseless, and God rest that man's soul. But this actually spawned the next entry, which is Nice Boat. Nice Boat is a meme in the School Days franchise, and it's a meme that lives on to this day. You may have probably seen images like this, for example, and you wondered how the hell does this tie in to the final episode of School Days. Well, in the final episode of School Days, there is a boat featured, and it is nice, but it's not what we're looking for. You see, when the station pulled down the episode, they had to put something in its place, and a lot of these stations, they aired what appears to be stock footage of a Norwegian river or a Norwegian waterway with a Norwegian, a boat just sailing through. Many people on 4chan, that's Japanese 4chan, I guess, I believe that's called 2chan, were upset about this and were posting about how they wanted to see the episode, this was censorship, blah blah blah, you know how it goes. But one 4chan user was just like, nice boat. And I mean, hey, the man just really liked the boat. And hey, it is a nice boat. But that kind of just became a meme to the point that even Overflow themselves acknowledged it. And it's a meme that lives on to this day. There you'll still find references, even in anime, about nice boat, right? It's just nice boat. It's just a shame that a poor man had to be hacked to death with an axe in order to get the meme, but hey, nice boat. Mathers Numakichi. Mathers Numakichi is the creator of the Days franchise and is supposedly the CEO of Stack, or was the CEO of Stack, and was just operating under a pen name, which Mathers Numakichi, kind of odd Japanese name, you know. Akio Onuma sounds more like it. I did find this Twitter account. Dimitri follows them of all people, so it seems legit. But from what I understand, Mathers Numakichi has never really been a social person. I know in 2017 was the last time he was had a public event where he was signing School Days books, where he was quoted as saying something along the lines of "my work is done" or "my work here is done" or something like that. So I'm not really sure what to make of this, but yeah, we have him to thank for this series and everything in the Days franchise, and obviously don't send him any hate, of course. That should go without saying, but you know how it goes. Anyway, I just found him to be interesting. Let's move on. The School Days manga. Alright, so keep in mind the visual novel is the first property, and many people know the anime and they hate it for that reason, but most people don't dig any deeper. The manga exists as well, and it's good, and I mean damn good. I recommend everybody check it out. The art is great alone, the illustrations, right? You really see the drama. It's got a good story, a unique story that follows a different path, but it does end with a bad ending, right? It's dark. It's not the worst bad ending, but it's pretty dark. And I recommend you read it for sure. It's short, and you can find it just by doing some Google search and maybe on Brave browser or something. But yeah, the School Days manga. I recommend you check it out. Eroge Innovations. Alright, so I've mentioned that this is an eroge, an erotic visual novel. And while most erotic visual novels kind of just look like, you just click on the screen, you make a choice, and then you get CG or just a still screen of, some hentai, right? School Days actually kind of changed the game when it came out. It's not impressive now, but back then it was revolutionary. It was groundbreaking. Visual novels had never had such fully animated, scenes like this, be it hentai or otherwise. And it even had that whole revolutionary choice screen. What that means is how in The Walking Dead, you play the Telltale games, right? How it says silence is an option, and you can just not answer, and that counts as an option. Well, School Days did that way back in 2005 when it came out. And while it wasn't the first game, it really popularized this formula as being a secret third choice, which can lead you down different paths. So the School Days visual novel, back then, it's easy to see how it spawned this massive franchise because, well, it was just groundbreaking, revolutionary, and unique at the time. I mean, Mathers had a vision, and hey, it seemed to pay off for a while. I mean, led to some bad places, but, paid off. Summer Days. Summer Days, also known as Shiny Days from later versions, is the sequel to School Days. Although saying sequels, not really accurate, as the continuity is a little weird. The characters are only vaguely aware of each other, and the events of School Days don't seem to have happened. So it's implied that this is more of a prequel or just takes place in a whole different timeline. We're not exactly sure, but there is an ending at the end of Shiny Days, and there's over 20 endings, right? So what does that mean? But there's one ending that has some continuity for a later game down the series. A bad one, we'll talk about it later, oh god. But yeah, so it's implied that this game is more canonical even than School Days. But anyway, Shiny Days takes place during summer vacation, with the main character once again being Makoto Ito. What makes this game unique is that the main heroine this time is Setsuna Kiora. And what made it unique to me, at least I've never played a game like this before, it seemed to me like the game followed Setsuna, at least in the first half. Meaning that you followed her, you watched her story, and you only made decisions or any gameplay when Makoto was on screen. The best way I can describe it would be like a second person shooter, you know what I mean? Rather than seeing it from your point of view or from behind the back, it's like you're getting the view from the person being shot. Which is kind of weird, right? But it's like you're playing as Kiora, and then when Makoto comes on screen, then you make choices. But it's very unusual. But the game looks nice, and there's a lot of romance options, to include Setsuna, Kotonoha, the OG girls, right? Setsuna, you can bang everybody's mom, which is nice. But yeah, Shiny Days is remembered fondly, even though there's quite a bit of controversy, as you can imagine, that came out of this game, not just from the content, but from its development. There's a lot of hell. We're going to get into that in the next layer, which is now. Layer 3, Uncensored Slip-Up. So many people don't know this, but the US itself is actually really permissive, more permissive than most countries on its adult content. Japan in particular has a ban on adult content. Let me say that again, just so you know, just so you understand. Japan has a ban on adult content. Okay, what does that mean exactly? Well, you can release H games, you can release adult content, it just has to be censored, right? From the waist down, you can't show a ding dong, you can't show, the hole, right? Everything has to have bars over it, and they've been pushing the line on this for as long as I can remember, right? The company's releasing adult content, but for the most part, you can't show anything, unlike in the US, right? That's why when you see hentai, for example, you'll see it mosaiced out or black bar. You might wonder what that is. Well, that's literally what they have to do, right? However, Shiny Days really screwed up when they sent out their game. Apparently, the first wave of their games released uncensored. This broke all kinds of laws and causes massive problems. You have to keep in mind, right? You then have to go out and recall these games. I mean, it's just so bad, right? I can't stress enough how bad this was for them. It's said that the financial hit from this was so terrible that they actually had to lay off a good chunk of their employees just so they could survive. I mean, this almost killed Overflow. This almost killed Stack from this small problem alone. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, why censor it and why uncensor it? Why not just have mosaics in from the jump, or why even animate ding dongs? It's like, well, it's more authentic, all right? It's more authentic when you see it and then it's censored or whatever. You know what I mean? I guess you could go soft core with it. Oh, and in case you were wondering, everything's breasts are fine. That's why you'll see breasts in regular anime like Code Geass, you know what I mean? Which is nice, but yeah, it released uncensored to a few people, and no word on if anybody kept the uncensored version and just didn't say anything about it. I'm sure many did, which is hilarious. But yeah, they really screwed up with that. So anyway, that's a crazy bit of lore, but it's not the only time Summer Days would screw up involving their release. So various launch bugs. So before I go any further, I feel like it's my responsibility to say something outright. It's further down in the iceberg, but I'm gonna spoil it now. If you play Shiny Days, which you can purchase right now, all the scenes involving this character have been removed, so don't worry about that, okay? I thought I should better say that outright now. But you can play it to this day, and to this day, the game still has various bugs. But that's nothing compared to what the bugs that were out when the game first released, even in Japan. You see, when they released this game, on top of having the massive censorship fiasco, the game had plenty of bugs, too many bugs. The screen would turn black for no reason, the screen would freeze for no reason, the dialogue wouldn't play in the right places. They really screwed up when they released this game. It's to the point where they had to release patches totaling up to 10 gigabytes by the time they were done. Now, that's nothing today. We have games that are broken on launch and require a 50 gigabyte patch, right? But back then, this was kind of a big deal, right? It caused them a lot of problems, but eventually you could play the game. Even to this day, like I said, if you play the updated version, Shiny Days, it still has a lot of bugs, and you will have to figure it out for yourself how to play it. Anyway, with that, let's move on. Ahoge Battle Minigame. The Ahoge Battle Minigame is a minigame that was bundled in with Summer Days, and it's kind of hard to find. It's really adorable, actually. So you play as a chibi Sekai, and you fight off a chibi version of Katsura to try to fight her off from killing you, as in the bad ending from the original visual novel. So it's kind of a different take on the ending, and it's really silly. There's not much to it. You can find it on YouTube right now. It's adorable, but also if you lose, you kind of get your neck slit open, which isn't adorable, but hey, these characters are cute. Fun for the whole family. Wait a minute. Fun for the whole family? Oh, I'm kind of having a Vietnam flashback. Let's move on. Magical Heart Kokoro-chan and Valentine's Day OVA. I'm combining these two entries. These are two OVAs in the School Days franchise. While Magical Heart Kokoro-chan is pretty easy to find, it was bundled in with the DVD. The Valentine's Day OVA is significantly more difficult to find. Now, in both of these OVAs, there's really not a lot to it. It's really just fan service. Magical Heart Kokoro-chan, which, fun fact, Kokoro in Japanese can mean heart. But Magical Heart Kokoro-chan is basically a parody of Magical Girl anime. So all of the girls in the show are basically magical girls, and Setsuna's the main villain, and they fight her off in different various ways with giant mechs and things such as, right? So it's kind of silly. The one thing I found interesting was towards the end of it, there is a reference to a nice boat. And there's a scene that implies that Makoto may understand that he's a fictional character, although I'll let you watch it for yourself, but it's nothing really that big deal. If you're a fan of School Days, you're going to want to watch it, but other than that, really not much to it. Next up is the Valentine's Day OVA, and like I said, it's pretty difficult to find, and there's not a lot to it. It was actually kind of dumb, if I remember right, but yeah, it's basically Valentine's Day, and all of the girls try to win over Makoto's heart. Even Yoko Saionji, which is Sekai's mother, which is nice. But anyway, at the end of the anime, it shows that Makoto doesn't pick any girl, and then it says that Makoto, as a result of all of his escapades with women, he became a bit sexually confused. Then you see Taisuke waving at him, and it ends. So, yeah, if you can find it, there you go. All right, hey, last minute edit here. So the reason Valentine's Day is so hard to find is because it's really not an OVA or it's not an anime episode. It comes bundled with the PlayStation port of School Days, which is something I totally forgot to talk about, was ports of School Days. There's one on the PlayStation 2 and one on the PlayStation Portable that I'm aware of outside of being on the PC. So Valentine's Day comes bundled with this PlayStation 2 game, which is pretty neat by itself. I tried to watch it, but I tried to watch it in Minecraft, but the Minecraft server was having problems. I'll watch it later, but look it up for yourself. Just do some searching. You should be able to find it. Also, I did rewatch the Magical Heart episode just this morning, and I gotta say that it's a lot better than I remember. It's a lot of fun. I recommend it. I really do. There's even a nice boat reference in it, which is awesome. Anyway, let's move on.
ゾンビガスの脅威は去った。しかし、榊の蝶を狙う悪は後を絶たないだろう。そして、突然現れた謎の戦士、マジカルワードの正体は、頑張れ、マジカルハート。負けるな、マジカルハート。
White blood. Alright, so I'm having another personal Mandela effect moment, similar to how I thought there was an extra bad ending in Mega Man Legends that you can see in my bad ending video. Check that out, and if you know of it, let me know. But if you've seen this before, let me know as well, because I kind of can't find it again. Not that I want to find it, but anyway, in the anime, there's a scene, a very notorious and infamous scene, where Kotonoha gets raped by Taisuke. And after this, you see her looking depressed and dejected, and you see a pool of blood on the floor. Now, they censored this, at least I remember it being censored, and they turned the blood white. And I remember seeing this and thinking it was ridiculous because censoring blood by turning it white in this situation just makes it way worse, considering this is supposed to be blood from Katsura having her virginity stolen from her, right? So this makes it much, much worse, and I was thinking it's ridiculous, but I kind of can't find any evidence that this was real. Not that you should go looking for it. I mean, this is a bad scene, but I just remember it being ridiculous and thinking, like, how many people watched this and thought, wow, they really went there. Like, no, don't worry, guys. It's not what you think. It's just her blood. Like, oh, okay, gotcha. Things are about to get a lot worse in this iceberg. Let's move on. Layer 4, Cross Days. So Cross Days is a game released after Shiny Days, but it doesn't take place after Shiny Days or before it. It's actually a parallel series right next to School Days, so the events of School Days are happening at the same time of Cross Days, which is pretty neat. When you watch the School Days anime, you will see some crossover characters, which is pretty cool. We'll talk about that a bit later. And in Shiny Days, some of the characters from there exist in Cross Days, which is also pretty cool. You get a new protagonist this time in Yuki Ashikaga. He's a bit dopey and a bit of a wimp, and he's a bit more feminine, but he can be a Chad and bang most of the girls. There's a new cast of girls in this game, although there's some overlap, such as Kotonoha, who Yuki is in love with, but Kotonoha is in Makoto's story, so a lot of bad things are going to happen in this visual novel, right? So Yuki has a bit of a problem with his masculinity and being seen as more feminine, and he's a surprisingly good cross-dresser, and from the events of the story, he can cross-dress on multiple occasions, and this could be why it's called Cross Days. And I'm not going to lie, seeing Yuki cross-dressing, would, but at the same time, it's kind of a problem for Yuki. And I would tell you to play the game for yourself, but there's no official translation. I can't find any real fan translations or downloads that are reliable. However, you can read the story in the Cross Days manga, which leads us to our next entry, the Cross Days manga. Possibly the best piece of media in the entire Days franchise, and no, I'm not kidding about that. This is really, really good, and I honestly can't do it justice. You should check out, and I know I spend a lot of time shilling other YouTubers on this channel, but, you know, such is life. You should check out the YouTuber And Lexa, or Lexa And, I should say. They're the biggest School Days simp other than myself, and they broke this video down really, really well. I really recommend you check them out. Anyway, the Cross Days manga follows Yuki Ashikaga in a timeline parallel to School Days in his own story. However, Makoto is very much a part of this story, and we see what could possibly be one of the darkest versions of Makoto in all the media. You know, except for the whole rapist part, but we'll get into that a little bit later. This is one of the darkest Makotos out there in that he's totally power drunk, and Yuki plays the role of audience surrogate, being the outside force looking at everything going on and pointing and saying what the hell is going on. You see, Yuki falls for Kotonoha, but Kotonoha is already taken by Makoto. However, Yuki observes that Makoto is also dating Saionji, so he sees this two-timing from an outsider's perspective and fights to expose Makoto. Now, in the end, Makoto does get what he deserves, and I can't really spoil it, but it's not as dramatic as you might think, but basically every character in this universe kind of understands Makoto, Sekai, and Kotonoha to be, well, basically all three of them to be insane, and that they all kind of deserve each other. But again, I can't really spoil it. It's a really good story though, and I absolutely recommend you check it out. The Cross Days manga. Anyway, with that, let's move on. The Cross Days Trojan. Alright, one of the goofiest parts about the School Days franchise is the Cross Days Trojan. And I gotta say, if some of the characters were to have used Trojans, we probably wouldn't have had as much drama, but I'm not talking about that kind of Trojan. No, I'm talking about the computer virus kind of Trojan. Alright, so apparently some pirated copies of Cross Days contains a Trojan.
That's it!
What's up, Iggy?
I've come up with a new recipe.
Can't wait to try it.
Virus, but this wasn't just put in randomly. No. This was put in directly by the developers of the game. Yeah, so in the terms of service, they kind of banked on you not reading it, and if you bought an illegitimate copy, this Trojan virus could be, you know, exploited and then get on your computer. Essentially, it's a form of ransomware, and if you wanted it removed, you had to publicly admit that you stole the copy and apologize. Now, you see, the thing is, you kind of can't do that, you know? It'd be like if my roommate was stealing my food, so I poisoned my food with rat poison, and I was like, haha, gotcha, and then he's dead. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of can't do that, so they were fined and had to pay out restitutions, right? But I get the intent was there, but you ever hear about those like anti-piracy screens that are like creepy and weird? Well, this is like, yeah, this will this could brick your computer, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, the Cross Days Trojan. Do you see why I'm like reluctant to download this game and play it for myself, right? I guess I could buy it directly from the Japanese, but I don't speak Japanese yet. Cross Days character cameos. Alright, so there's not a lot here. It's just me personally noticing things like, so in the School Days anime, there's not really a lot of extra characters. Characters that are extra exist, but they don't typically have names. They typically have like a generic face, if they even have a face, or they're off screen, such as Kotonoha's parents, Makoto's family, and people such as, you know what I mean? However, some characters do seem out of place, like they should have a role. They kind of stick out, right? Like this character here. Well, this character is actually Ai Yamagata, who we won't see again until Summer Days for a brief cameo, and then plays a role in Shiny Days. There's also this character here, Chie Ashikaga. If you recognize that last name, it's because she's Yuki's older sister. And then there's this young girl here who, oh boy. But anyway, these three characters all play a big role in later games, so it's like, what makes this interesting is that why are they in the School Days anime and barely given a name or even screen time, but yet they're big characters in a later game down the road? Like, how long were they planning Cross Days, you know what I mean? Also, fun fact, I read somewhere that apparently Chie Ashikaga was going to have a relationship with Mr. Katsura, like Kotonoha's dad, for some reason, which is just a whole nother thing going on, but that doesn't surprise me at all. Anyway, let's move on. Nanami Kanroji. So Nanami Kanroji is this character right here. Now I know I said I wouldn't go into every single character, right? But Nanami is a bit unique in my opinion. You see, in the opening scene of the School Days anime, you see all of the girls topless. Nice. But at the same time, all of the girls featured here are girls that Makoto will eventually sleep with in the anime, except for Nanami. As a matter of fact, Nanami doesn't play that big of a role in the visual novel or the anime or the manga for that matter. She's there, she's a friend of Sekai's group, but she doesn't really play a big narrative role, you know what I mean? And as far as I know, we never even get to see her naked, and Makoto doesn't sleep with her. So it's just unusual that she's included in this OP. But you may have thought she was spared from Makoto's wrath, but no. No. So in a bad ending of Cross Days, a bad ending, mind you, Nanami breaks up with her boyfriend, you know, from the anime. She's head over heels for this guy. She breaks up with her boyfriend after finding out something horrible. And after this, she's super depressed, and her friends take her to Makoto to cheer her up by having Makoto bang her. Yeah, that's a bad ending. And why did she break up with her boyfriend? Oh, yeah, so his name is Kyoichi Kasanonin. That's a hard name even for me, guys. Anyway, she breaks up with her boyfriend after finding out that her boyfriend is a serial child rapist. So, yeah. But hey, in a weird continuity twist that I still can't figure out, and we'll talk about a little bit more later, this character gets cut in half by a katana. So there's something there at least, but yeah, that's why Nanami breaks up with her boyfriend in Cross Days. But it's just kind of weird that she's such a prominent character when all the other extras kind of don't even have a face. She's just a prominent character, but doesn't ever, you know, get romantic with Makoto, except in one bad ending that you don't even get to see. So she's just an unusual, you know, addition. With that, let's move on to the next layer. Yo, just a quick heads up. I decided to go ahead and change the order, the next two layers of the iceberg. I know that for an iceberg, it doesn't make any sense, but narratively, it makes a lot more sense. So I switched them up. So if you hear layer 6 instead of layer 5, you know why. Just, yeah, I thought it'd be more entertaining. But I hope you're enjoying. Let's move on. Layer 6. Kokoro H scenes removed. Yeah, I already spoiled this earlier, but a lot of y'all click off the video before it's done, so I needed it to be clear, just in case you wanted to play the game, that yes, these scenes have been removed. So in Summer Days or Shiny Days, I know I've been calling it both. I get confused, but just it's the same thing, right? Anyway, in Summer Days, originally, Kokoro was a romanceable character. I mean, romanceable, I mean, quotation marks, but yeah, she's a romanceable character, and you do see scenes with her. Now, look, some people did say censorship because it was taken out of the North American release, but I don't blame them. Number one, I don't blame them at all because why risk that heat? Even though it's all fictional, so there should be no problem. But I don't blame them, and personally, that's a line that even I don't want to see crossed, okay? Just for me personally. You've seen my personal feelings here. I'm a gooner, I'm a degenerate, you know. I play Girls Frontline 2, Street Nova, Peach Beach Splash. I play all these games, right? And look, I am someone who will always fight censorship. But in this situation, I'd say that censorship would be fine, would be warranted because it's not even that it's like, you know, titillating, right? From what I understand, it is well, it's always forced, but I mean, it's very, very, very dark in this situation. So yeah, Kokoro H scenes have been removed. Now, look, it'd be remiss of me not to say it, but you can patch them back in. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm not gonna let's move on. Island Days. Island Days is the most bizarre entry in the Days franchise, in my opinion, and it's the only one to be released on a Nintendo console. Of all things, the 3DS, the Nintendo console, a console known for being squeaky clean, family friendly, I mean, fun for the whole family. No pun intended there. Okay, pun intended there. But yeah, for whatever reason, it came out on 3DS, Island Days. So you play as Makoto, and you have 8 heroines to choose from the series. You and the 8 girls are stranded on an island, and you must hold out until help arrives. You're under attack by wild animals. It turns into like a tower defense game, but then it turns into a visual novel. Some characters can die, like there's a permadeath system. And basically, yeah, it's a visual novel romance tower defense game on the 3DS. I'm just amazed it exists. Supposedly, this is supposed to be the chronologically last game in the Days franchise, but I mean, also, Strip Battle Days 1 exists, so we'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, Island Days. I'm just amazed that it exists. Not sure if there's any H scenes in it. I would severely doubt it, considering it's the 3DS, but nothing surprises me. Let's move on. Fan communities. So this is going to be a lighter one, but before I begin, I want to get into a little personal story. When I first started making videos, a friend of mine suggested that I do the Pokemon iceberg, right? And I told her, I said, yeah, sure, let me do that. Me and 7,000 other people that have made Pokemon icebergs, we're all going to do really well together on YouTube, right? By the way, the Pokemon Coliseum iceberg did really well. Thank y'all so much for watching that. You can still check that out on my channel. But my point is, it's really hard to find subjects to do an iceberg video on because most of them have been done to death, right? And I really wanted to do icebergs that I personally liked too, okay? The bad ending iceberg I was the only person to do one in English that I know of, right? There was one out, but it was in Spanish. When I did the Overlord iceberg, guess what? I was the only person to have done it in English. There was one already, but it was in Spanish. And now the School Days iceberg, guess what? I'm the only person in English, as of now, by the time I upload it, who knows, to have done one in English. Okay, there's one already, but it's in Spanish. For whatever reason, the School Days community has a lot of Spanish speakers, and I really don't know why and what's going on with that, but I guess it's more popular there than in the US, right? But there is a fan community around School Days. You can still find on fanfictions.net people that write School Days fanfictions, like myself. Please go check out my fanfiction on fanfictions.net. It involves an aged up Kotonoha in a world outside of Makoto and Sekai, which is I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I don't know. You should go check it out, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. But anyway, the point is there is still a fan community and there are people that defend School Days. I've already mentioned the YouTube channel Alexa and who has done an amazing job covering this series, and I certainly hope he notices me senpai. Please notice me senpai. Anyway, with that, this is just kind of a shameless plug for my fan fiction. Go check it out. Let's move on. The Clanad connection. Alright, so this is just a fan theory or just fans pointing things out that Clanad has a lot of similarities with School Days. Clanad is an amazing visual novel. It's emotional, it's heart-wrenching. I mean, you'll love it. I loved it. You can watch the anime as well. Check it out. Clanad came out first in 2004 and then School Days came out in 2005 via Overflow. So, what are the connections? So the main character of Clanad is Tomoya. He's seen as kind of a delinquent. He's got a bad reputation. Makoto, at the end of his visual novel, kind of has a bad reputation as well. Both stories can end in branching paths and tragedies. Both the main characters have somewhat of a terrible father figure, right? Especially Makoto, as we talked about earlier. The school they go to is kind of similar. They both have harems of women that are all over them for seemingly no reason. They both have a pervert best friend. Even the main female character, Nagisa, has some similarities with Sekai, mostly just that they look similar in a way. As I've mentioned, Tomoya looks kind of similar with Makoto, although, again, this is just fans pulling at things that aren't really there. There's no connection other than there's a lot of, like, similar tropes, you know what I mean? But still, it's pretty interesting when you really look at it. Let's move on. Was Sekai actually pregnant? Alright, so in order to go over this, I have to go over the ending of School Days, the anime. If you've made it this far, I'm sure you don't care about spoilers, but I'm going to spoil it now. So the end of School Days, right? It ends in tragedy, as you may have guessed, okay? So Makoto is going out with Sekai and Kotonoha, but he hasn't broken up with Kotonoha yet, though he's not really seeing himself as dating Kotonoha. So in the end, after he finally breaks up with Kotonoha, he starts to sleep with other girls that are in the school that just throw themselves at him. Sekai finds out, and they're kind of separated for a while as Makoto's just banging the whole school. And Sekai feels like she's losing her grip on Makoto, and then one day she starts to feel nauseous. She finally comes back to school and tells Makoto that she is pregnant, and all the girls after that back off of Makoto, especially when Makoto denies parenthood. Yeah, I wonder where he got that from. But anyway, he starts to back off from Sekai, but the other girls want nothing to do with him, so he ends up stuck with Sekai and realizing that he's finally going to face consequences for his actions in the form of a pregnancy. Every other girl wants nothing to do with them except for one, Kotonoha. Kotonoha forgives him, so he goes back out with Kotonoha. And when Sekai finds this out, she's furious, but Makoto stays true to Kotonoha and basically kicks Sekai to the curb. When Sekai is alone, doesn't know what to do, she gets a text from Makoto saying, hey, Kotonoha says she knows a good doctor that you can use to take care of it. Which is an absolutely horrible thing to do, right? Now, I don't know how you feel about termination of a pregnancy. I personally think it's horrible, but whatever. But either way, this is a terrible thing to do, especially to a young girl, and Sekai snaps. So finally, one day, Sekai confronts Makoto alone at his apartment. When Makoto has his back turned, Sekai stabs him to death. Yeah, she ends his life. When she realizes what she's done, she runs away. Kotonoha comes to Makoto's apartment only to see Makoto deceased. Kotonoha then dismembers Makoto's body. Yeah, rather than calling the cops, she cuts off Makoto's head and takes it with her and confronts Sekai on the school roof because we have to have a conclusion on the school roof. I mean, I'm making fun of it, but it's dramatic. You have to watch it for yourself. But anyway, they have a confrontation and Kotonoha kills Sekai. After this, Kotonoha apparently rips open Sekai's stomach and then says to nobody, the audience I guess, that there was no baby. After this, we get a scene of a nice boat and the show ends. Okay, so here's something to point out. Kotonoha is absolutely not a reliable narrator at this point. She's basically gone insane, and she's certainly not a doctor. So depending on the time frame, I mean, there might not have even been any way to know there was a baby in there, right? Now, also, it's not impossible that Sekai made this up. Or it's not impossible that Sekai was simply mistaken. There are cases of women thinking they're pregnant, right? They're believing they are and showing symptoms when they're actually not. Or Sekai could have made this up as a last-ditch resort to get back Makoto, right? You see what I mean? So it's kind of a mystery here, and it's a real shame that most people watch this anime and then they'll just say, well, this is awful trash, and then just stop watching when the best moments are towards the end of the show. Was Sekai actually pregnant? Well, I guess it doesn't matter now because, she did. But yeah, we don't have any answer. We don't know for sure one way or the other. That makes it a mystery to this day. Let's move on. Layer 5. Summer Radish, Radish Vacation, the Radish Restaurant. Alright, so you may have seen this restaurant in the anime. It's just called Radish, right? And you may have thought that was kind of a weird name, but whatever, it's a fictional place, so who cares? Well, the thing is, Radish actually plays a bigger part in the Overflow universe. You might remember I said something earlier about previous games in the franchise or in Overflow's universe. One of them's called, you guessed it, Snow Radish. Another one's called Summer Radish. The Radish chain of restaurants has played a big role in the entire universe. So seeing it here, it's just pretty cool. And it's a small part of the anime, but it's like the main place that you will hang out in the Summer Days game. On top of all that, you may recall that I said earlier that Overflow is a company working out of Stack, right? And Stack is working on Welcome to Pia Carrot. That's a restaurant-style management sim that also has dating and, boning in it, right? So think about it. Radish, Carrot, the two are obviously connected, right? They may not be in the same universe, but Radish is clearly a parody of Pia Carrot, right? I think that's 99% likely. But anyway, just in case you were wondering where Radish comes from, there it is. Let's move on. BL route. So in common, internet colloquialisms, BL stands for boys love, right? I think you know where this is going. I mentioned in Cross Days that Yuki can cross-dress, right? Well, the thing is, if he cross-dresses in certain points of the game, he can end up in a consensual relationship with Makoto, meaning, two guys ending up together. Now, some people had a problem with this. I don't see what the big deal is. Again, it's kind of, other than it's Makoto, who's just an absolute terrible person, but he can end up in a consensual relationship with him. And I don't have a problem with consensual gay relationships in games. As long as it's not, forced on me. But, yeah, the thing is, I said consensual. There's another BL route in this game. Yeah, he can be in an unconsensual relationship with Taisuke and his friends, which is... oh god, oh no. But he can also be in a somewhat unconsensual relationship with a bunch of girls too, which is still bad, but no, it's all bad. It's all bad. Let's move on. The turning point. So, alright guys, we've had some fun on this iceberg a little bit. I've tried to make it light, tried to keep it light, keep it entertaining and informative. But folks, what you're about to learn about this character in particular is dark, and it is bad. And I'm going to tell you, really, really bad. So doing the research yesterday, today is the 22nd, doing the research, I had tears in my eyes. Not that it's all fictional, right? But I had tears in my eyes because of just how dark it really was. When you do the research on some of the fates of some characters in the series, it is so brutal and so gross and so disturbing that you have to be ready for it. So I want to put one last warning, kind of an info hazard here, because what I learned about this game, this series, changed my mind about media and visual novels and all that as a whole. Now look, you're not bad if you play these games. It's all fictional. You're not bad if you like these games. If you're into this sort of thing, I just, just keep an arm's length from me. You know what I mean? We can still be friends and all, but you know what I mean? Like this is what you're gonna learn is so unimaginably disturbing, in my opinion, right? That I could just omit it, but I mean, for the sake of, entertainment and for the sake of, just so you know everything, completionism, I have to tell you about the rest of the iceberg. And there are some lighter entries like fan communities, fan theories that I added in the next layer, but I mean, for the most part, everything you're going to hear going forward is absolutely disturbing. So I want to give you another chance. Thanks for watching. If you watched this far, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, watch my Beanie Babies iceberg for something like, cutesy and fun, or watch my Mushoku Tensei video, Turning Point, get it? But no, this has to be a turning point, and I'm naming it thus. And yeah, viewer discretion heavily advised. I mean, I don't even know if YouTube will allow this, I'll be honest with you, but let's find out together. Tomaru Sawagoe. All right, so it is no exaggeration, I think, to say this, but this is basically the Epstein of the visual novel world. And no, I'm not kidding. It's that bad. We're talking about a man who is systematically trying to impregnate a line of women to keep having his heirs, all of which are his daughters, one after another. I'm not kidding. So Tomaru is the progenitor, the ancestor of the entire Days franchise. Of the majority of the characters relate back to him in some way. And yes, I said majority of them, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Oh my god, I'm like, whew, I gotta keep it together just to say all this. All right, so this man is evil, all right? Now, he's an illegitimate son of some wealthy people, and he had one true love, as far as I can research, of Moegi Ino, who, well, come to find out, that was his half-sister, and neither one of them knew it, and that upset him, and I think that might have set him on the path of evil, but I mean, also at the same time, fuck this guy. Seriously, fuck this guy. Oh my god. Anyway, later on, Moegi would pass away outside of the events of the games, and he did seem to be somewhat upset about this, but yeah, after Moegi, every woman he came into contact with, just bad things began to happen. And I mean really bad things began to happen. Remember Kagura that I mentioned earlier? The protagonist of Snow Radish Vacation? Well, in her game, her entire game is to try to seduce Tomaru. If she's successful, she'll get pregnant by Tomaru. And guess what? Years later, Kagura will give birth to his daughter, and years after that, when his daughter comes of age, he impregnates her, and that upsets Kagura, and Kagura, runs away with the daughter. But not before Tomaru steals all of her money and puts her in debt to the Yakuza. He didn't need the money, he just, I guess, wanted to be a douche. And of course, she had a series of unfortunate events, and we don't know how, but she passed away as well. The other daughter that was left behind, he continued to impregnate over and over again, meaning that when she would have a girl, hopefully, I guess, to him, hopefully, he would then impregnate that girl and that girl. And listen, I'm going to tell you this right now, okay? Let's go over this. Let's go over this real quick, just so I can give you just a picture of how it looks, okay? So I'm going to censor some of these for suspense later, but check this out, okay? Inu, father. Miss Sawagoe, mother. Tomoe Sawagoe, maternal aunt/wife. Moegi Ino, paternal half-sister / former lover. Asagi Ino, paternal half-sister. Kagura Ino, daughter, paternal half-niece via Moegi, mother of children. Hatsuka Hazama, mother of children. Arisu Tsukasa, former lover. Miss Toda, mother of children. Mrs. Ogata, mother of child. Miss Nijo, mother of child. Moeka Eto, ex-wife. Ayumu Ino, son, paternal half-nephew. Moeka Sai Kihara, daughter, paternal half-niece. Shun Hazama, son via Hatsuka. Toki Hazama, daughter via Hatsuka. Ku Hazuma, son via Hatsuka. Hajime Ino, daughter/granddaughter via Kagura, mother of child. Mai Kiora, daughter/granddaughter via Kagura. Rina Ino, daughter/granddaughter via Kagura. Rin, daughter/granddaughter via Kagura, Ryo Ino, daughter/granddaughter/great-granddaughter via Hajime, mother of child, Risa Ino, daughter/granddaughter/great-granddaughter/great-granddaughter, second granddaughter via Ryo, mother of child, Rika Ino, daughter/granddaughter/great-granddaughter/great-granddaughter second/great-granddaughter third via Risa, mother of child. Now the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is no man on the earth, to come in to us as is the custom of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. It happened on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, Indeed, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go and lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. Then they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both daughters of Lot were the child by their father. The firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son, and called him Ben-Ami. He is the father of the people of Ammon to this day. Genesis 19:31 through 38. I just want to say that those of you that complain about degeneracy in anime manga, you have no idea. If you think that like cleavage is bad on Nezuko, if you think panty shots are bad on like schoolgirl characters, you don't know how dark it gets, folks. You just don't understand how dark it gets. It's bad. It can get bad. It can get really, really bad. And the worst part is this character is still out there in the universe. Now there's no more games coming out, but I mean, this character's fate, he's not unalived yet, right? He's still out there. Oh my god. Oh my god. So why did I go on that diatribe? I mean, this isn't the Overflow Iceberg, this is the School Days Iceberg, right? Well, you may have recognized a couple of names in there. I did block one for suspense later, but yeah, Moeka Ito is the mother of Makoto Ito. So, guess what? Yeah, you think Makoto is bad. I mean, Makoto is basically a saint compared to this man, alright? And Makoto is still a teenager. So just imagine what might happen if he does get to become an adult. Oh my god, you guys. That's about all I can say about him. He doesn't appear in Shiny Days or School Days. I believe there is a brief picture of him, like as an adult with Makoto, and apparently he taught Makoto how to fish, but I don't even care. No. You know what? No, I'm done. I can't. Let's move on quickly. Shun Hazama. So Shun Hazama is a character that made its first appearance in Summer Radish Vacation. And as you may have seen in that Nightmare Paternal chart, he is the son of Tamaru Sawagoe. So Shun Hazama becomes the manager of a radish restaurant, but is let go due to his sexual harassment, but is later brought back on as a manager. Surprise, surprise. Now, in the events of Shiny Days, it's revealed that Shun Hazama, along with many other children, is the father of Setsuna Kiora. That's right, he's the father of Setsuna Kiora. So if you're paying attention, right, he's the son of Tamaru, who is also, which would make him half-brothers with Makoto, and he fathers Setsuna Kiora. And in Shiny Days and School Days, Makoto sleeps with Setsuna Kiora, making this even worse. No, I'm sorry, it's not worse enough yet, because guess what? Guess what else happens, okay? Kiora, so Mai Kiora, who is Setsuna's mother, is also a child of Tomaru Sawagoe, meaning that Shun and Kiora are both half-siblings. They get together and have Setsuna and Makoto can sleep together in Summer Days, and yes, pregnancy can happen during Summer Days, so it just keeps getting worse. And trust me, it is not, you don't know. Okay, oh my god. Oh. So Shun also has a ongoing relationship during the game Summer Days. An ongoing romantic sexual relationship with one of the workers at the restaurant named Futaba. Futaba is, guess what? Shun's middle school daughter. Let's move on. Strip Battle Days 1 and 2. Strip Battle Days is kind of a weird game on the timeline. There's characters from the future, and it also takes place in another dimension. Let me try to explain. Strip Battle Days 1 came bundled with Cross Days. It's sort of a mini-game side story. What's unique about this is that you actually don't play as Makoto, or Yuki for that matter. You play as another protagonist that doesn't have a name or face, so basically it's supposed to be you, I guess. In this world, this is a world where conflict is solved by rock, paper, scissors. Kind of like No Game, No Life, but much more lewd. Or I guess not that much more lewd, but still kind of lewd. It's just another way for you to get more sex scenes with some of the characters. Strip Battle Days 1, again, is unique by having another protagonist, and it also features an aged-up Kokoro, which is the only time that I know of in the series where this is seen, so it takes place in the future. I mean, I wish I knew, but this is all in Japanese, and there's not a lot of information out there about this game, so that's pretty unique. Now, Strip Battle Days 2 is officially the last game released by this company. Although it's not the last game chronologically, it's the last game released in 2016. Strip Battle Days 2 is a standalone game, and it's much larger. It's got a bigger cast of characters, and it actually stars Makoto with more of a narrative. Makoto is isekai'd into this world and has to try to find his way back. Of course, he has time to play the girls that he meets in rock, paper, scissors, and if he wins, he has sex with them, right? We're going to talk about these two games way down the iceberg still. I mean, I'm kind of saving it for the grand finale. It is, let's move on to the next layer. Alright, we are at the abyss, the final layers of hell, and it starts with Moeka Ito. So Moeka Ito is Makoto's mother. Now, we haven't seen much of her in the series at all. I think she makes a small cameo in Shiny Days, but we don't see or know much about her. She's the mother of Makoto and Makoto's little sister, Itaru. We haven't mentioned her. She plays a big role in Shiny Days, but not in any lewd departments, thank God, you know? Thank goodness. But she's the mother character, and we don't get to see much of her until the final game of the series, Strip Battle Days 2. Alright, so if you'll remember, in Strip Battle Days 2, you play as Makoto, rock, paper, scissoring girls, and when he wins, he sees them stripped and then has sex with them. And Moeka Ito is a feminine hero in this game, and as such, yes, Makoto plays her in rock, paper, scissors, and if he wins, he has sex with her and impregnates her, and the cycle continues. So I'm not going to lie to you guys, I wanted to know the context. I wanted to know just what in the hell was going through Makoto's head. Why? Why did this happen? Why did it go down this way? So I went searching for answers and I couldn't really find any. The game's not really translated and it's never been released in America, you know what I mean? But I did manage to find all of the hentai scenes someone has graciously uploaded, and I did watch it. And I will tell you that, yeah, Moeka's pretty cute. I'm not gonna lie, she might be my new waifu of the entire series. I mean, she's hot. And it's just a shame that the only time we get to see her in action is whenever she's being impregnated by her own son.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
Sleep with the entire Katsura family ending. Alright, so there's many endings I could talk about in this final layer. The Cross Days one I'm going to omit because I can't really see them for myself. But I can tell you that some of the endings in School Days and Shiny Days, although, you know, they may not be bad endings necessarily, they are the worst of the worst. And the ones I'm going to talk about, I believe, are the worst of the worst, starting with sleep with the entire Katsura family. So in this ending of Shiny Days, Makoto sleeps with Kokoro. Then he sleeps with Kotonoha. And then Manami threatens him. Manami is the Kotonoha's mother. Threatens Makoto, so Makoto just kind of grapes her, and she falls in love with him. And the three women, well, you know, two women and one, you know, elementary schooler, are all fighting over who's going to, you know, make love with him. As they go on a Christmas vacation, the mother, Manami, may or may not be pregnant based on a choice that Makoto makes earlier in the game. Again, continuing the cycle. And of course, Mr. Katsura, Miss Katsura is still married, by the way, so I don't know where the husband is. Maybe he's off having that affair with Yuki's sister again for some reason. I mean, you see how it's, everything, it's just hell. It's just hell. It's all just hell. All right, let's move on. All right, are y'all ready for this? It's finally time. It's finally here. The worst of the worst. Makoto is Sekai's uncle. Yes, I purposefully omitted this when I was going through Tamaru's just line of just hell and chaos, but yeah, Tamaru, Makoto's father, also had a daughter by the name of Yoko Saionji. Yoko Saionji is Sekai Saionji's mother, and of course, being the father of Makoto means that Makoto and Yoko Saionji are half-siblings. Yes, Yoko is Makoto's half-sister. Naturally, with Sekai being Yoko's daughter, that makes her Makoto's half-niece. See, it's hard for me to even keep up. This is so unbelievable. This is so fucked, man. This is so fucked. And let's not forget, these also have siblings with Setsuna, by the way. But it's a whole nother thing. This family tree is so screwed. It's a shrub. It's a family shrub. Hell, I also see on this fucking family shrub, apparently Taisuke is related to Makoto too, just to add to the chaos. But anyway, so yeah. The main romance option, one of the main heroines of the game, you might have thought, oh, I like Sekai, I like Kotonoha. Well, guess what? If you chose Sekai, you chose wrong, because you chose for Makoto to get his half-niece pregnant. Oh, but it gets even worse. The next entry, like mother, like daughter. Yep, you guessed it. I'm on a roll now. Oh my god, this is like mother, like daughter. You know what's happening. You know what's about to happen. You know what's about to happen. In one of the harem routes of Shiny Days, Makoto can bang both Yoko Saionji and Sekai Saionji at two different times, not knowing that they're mother and daughter. So he's at the house one day, right? He's banging Yoko Saionji when Sekai finds out when she walks in. And Yoko encourages her daughter Sekai to join in on the fun. And the three of them have a threesome. That's right, a mother-daughter threesome with Makoto. But not just mother-daughter, but a mother-daughter / half-brother, half-uncle. Hey! I don't know if I should edit that out. I don't know if I should edit that out. I don't know if I'm gonna edit that out, but yeah, so if that's your thing, I'm gonna edit most of that out, because I kind of just threw up in my mouth a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I'm an orphan. I don't have any real siblings, so the incest stuff in anime doesn't bother me, but like, this is so dark that it's like affecting even me, so yeah. Like mother, like daughter, you can bang Yoko and Sekai, or actually you bang Makoto's half aunt and half niece. Let's move on to let's wrap this sucker up. The substitute ending. All right, so this is by far, in my opinion, the worst possible outcome in Shiny Days. And what makes it even worse is that it's potentially canon. Let me explain the substitute ending. So in this route, Makoto is banging Setsuna. Setsuna gets pissed off at Makoto and leaves to go to Paris. You remember her mother is, half French. So she leaves and goes to Paris, and Makoto wants to find a substitute to sleep with while she's gone. and he spots Kokoro on the beach. Now, having had a previous interaction with her that was friendly, he now turns to his more lecherous side, and he grapes Kokoro right there on the beach, okay, as his substitute. Now, a few days later, he sees Kokoro again, who I guess didn't go to the police, and tries to chase her down, but Kokoro runs away. Kokoro tries to run to the Radish restaurant where Shun is waiting. Shun happens to be outside, and Makoto calls for, remember, his half-brother, though he doesn't know that, to catch her, and Shun catches Kokoro, not knowing really what's going on. Makoto then explains to Shun that, hey, that's my girlfriend, or something. And Shun is just like, oh, okay. And Kokoro's like, no, I'm not. Need a minute. So Shun believes Makoto, and Shun lets Makoto use the restaurant with Kokoro, and Makoto grapes Kokoro, and Shun is there, and he's watching, and he gets excited, and so he decides to call in his girlfriend, which remember is actually his daughter, and his daughter is giving him, pleasure while he's watching Makoto and Kokoro go at it. If that's not bad enough for you, apparently this whole situation is potentially canon. What do I mean? Now remember I talked about Strip Battle Days 1 way back on the Iceberg, where you play as a different character, and you actually see a grown-up Kokoro. This grown-up Kokoro explains that she lived a life being graped by Makoto and is traumatized by it. This is implying that this ending in Shiny Days went on to be canon and this Kokoro grew up. Now, in the substitute ending at the end of it, Makoto is actually, graping Kokoro and grooming her for a while. We see a time skip where they're at school and Makoto takes Kokoro to school with him to meet up with this other young man, Kasunen, remember him? The child rapist that was dating Nanami? And there's gonna be like a weird four-way. Kokoro prays for help, and Katsura comes out of nowhere. Kotonoha comes out of nowhere with a katana, and it's implied that she killed both of them, which would be a good thing, right? It is a good thing. Kotonoha saves the day, but we see a grown-up Kokoro in Strip Battle Days 1, and she explains to the protagonist how, she's been traumatized by all the grape she endured as a kid. And how does the protagonist of Strip Battle Days 1, how does he react to hearing this? Oh, he just, he grapes her. And that is the legacy of School Days now. That's it. And Alright, so that's the end of the iceberg, and I want to give you a special message. I crashed out a lot at this last layer, and I edited a lot of it out. I'm going to leave some of it in, though, so you know that, this is how I feel about it. I know it's going to feel performative, but whatever. I'm either AI or I'm too emotional, but However, that doesn't matter. The point is, guys, I want you to understand, I still like School Days. I still like the anime. I still like the visual novel. I still like the manga. But I just didn't realize how dark it gets. If anything, Shiny Days is what's really evil here. But then, remember, Sekai, once you remember the family tree, it's hard, right? I don't want to say that I'm mad at the creator or at the series. If you like the game, great. If you like the series, great. It's all fictional at the end of the day. But when you stare too long into the darkness, right, it stares back at you. And so doing the research, guys, you need to understand, I was doing the research on the entire Overflow universe and just seeing character after character with bright, cheery smiles and then reading their bio. Oh, they were graped by their half-brother and they were graped here and they died there. It's so dark that you begin to feel really bad for the fates of these characters. And I think that's what bugs me the most, is that they don't look like they deserve the fate that they get most of the time. A lot of the time, these characters don't even know that they're products of incest. They don't even know they're committing incest. This family tree needs to be burnt down, all right? We need a small, controlled device that, okay, I'm not going to say anymore. But the point is, guys, I don't want you to think I hate the series. I don't hate you, and I'm still a gooner, and I'm still proud of it. And in small doses, incest can be hot in anime, okay? I will say that. But this crosses too many fucking lines. I mean, at least if they knew about it, it'd be one thing. But the fact that they don't know about it and they're committing it over and over again is horrifying. It's horrifying. But that's the end of the iceberg. If you liked it, if you like me, give it a like. Go check out Lexa and channel. I mentioned them a few times. They're amazing. Notice Me Senpai. Go check it out. He's the only other School Days simp that I know of. Other than that, guys, check out my Beanie Baby Iceberg, Big Bend Iceberg, Pokemon Iceberg, Mushoku Tensei video, you name it. Check out my fan fiction. I love you. I really do. I mean that. Thank you for your support. Y'all take care.